This is a foot operated vise that I designed to be laser cut with the intention of selling it as a weld it yourself kit. Foot vises like this haven't been made for over 100 years, and I decided to recreate one because I think they're incredibly useful. This isn't the first foot vise I've made. Almost 2 years ago I made the Mark I. And in this video I'll be making and iterating on my Mark II foot vise. The design intent with this vise isn't for it to replace a bench vise. It's for it to be really fast acting and low enough to angle grind comfortably. I also want to try and make this a product, a weld it yourself kit, or I could sell plans. Further down the line on another version, I might add a ratcheting mechanism to help it lock closed. This is the Mark I foot vise. I made this almost 2 years ago. Now the jaw faces didn't meet parallel because it travels in an arc, but it still works just fine. In fact, my friend Jason gave an awesome explanation of that in his video where he built a mega vise.
And if you picture your finger and your thumb and how they pinch together, they don't move linearly. But this concept is just basically a big version of a pair of channel locks, so it still works.
That vise he built is bonkers. If you want to see that, I'll have a link in the description. But for the Mark II of this, I did want to make the dynamic jaw pivot so the jaw faces met parallel and gave you maximum grip. And oh boy, did you guys want to see the dynamic jaw pivot. Well, I listened. I've spent dozens of hours 3D modeling the vise. This was a huge first for me. I've done some 3D modeling in the past, but this was the first time I made a 100% complete, fully functional assembly. And now that the files have been laser cut,
we're back in hardware mode.
in this video, I'm building two vises. The first one is gonna be a test bed. I'm basically just gonna tack weld everything together so I can cut components off and refit new parts as I redesign things. The second vise is gonna be a fully finished one that I'm gonna give to my friend Alec Steele when I go out to visit him in a few weeks. On some of these parts, there's this little tab from the laser cutter, and I'm just gonna grind that off real quick. There's one thing I need to do before assembling these parts, and that's tap some holes. The whole reason I'm revisiting this foot vise project is because it's laser cut. And for me, that wouldn't be possible without the help from SendCutSend, who's partly sponsoring this video. SendCutSend is an online laser cutting service that offers a wide range of metals. The website's super easy. You upload a drawing, it gives you an automatic quote, and then the turnaround time is really fast. Now let's get this thing tacked together. The way I designed this, obviously, is for it to tab and slot together, but it's kind of tricky to hold all the parts together while I'm trying to build up a box section. I've got these little side pusher clamps I'm going to put in to squeeze this against the dowel pins on the other side. Oh, so exciting! After clamping with these side pushers, it's not quite square, so I think I'm going to change these out with some fireball squares and then clamp from the side and then clamp down to the table. The way I modeled these tabs is for the width of the tab to be half the material thickness so that there's a little pocket for a weld. I'm about to tack weld this project for the first time and on my brand new welding table. I am so excited. So many hours went into this. I'm a little bit nervous too. I'm gonna put some tack welds on the inside of this tube to be able to hold that bottom panel on when I unclamp it and flip it over. This is the static jaw tube, and I've got the jaw mount all welded up. Just slips on so nicely with those tabs. I'm gonna slip this little pusher clamp inside here and push it up flat against the top of this tube. Dead perfect. I need to locate these clevis arms for the pedal to the static jaw tube. These part names are getting out of hand. So I'm sticking a magnetic shim to this square. This is the dynamic jaw tube, same as the static tube, just a little bit different. To make the vise pivot, I had this little donut cut out, and I bought some hardened steel dowel pins that I'm going to plug weld inside this clevis arm. And it'll work just like my Mark I foot vise. This is a prototype I made a couple weeks ago before ordering the full vise. And when I did order it, I forgot to order these lugs. For this first test bed vise, I'm gonna steal this part off this prototype. And I'll explain this contraption in a minute, just hang tight. I'm bolting the dynamic jaw flange to its tabs with these shoulder bolts, and on this side I stuck a 15 thousandths piece of sheet metal to shim in a gap. I started to weld on this side of the slot, but that weld bead will get in the way of the tab that needs to go in here, so I'm gonna grind that out. That didn't work, plan B. This is so exciting, seeing this table turn from a pile of flat parts into 3D bodies. I'm so excited. I gotta try this thing out. Yes! I was worried for a second that the arms had bowed in or out, it was all tight, but that is beautiful. So exciting. Hot diggity! On the Mark I vise, these arms towed out and I had to do a ton of grinding on this face to get them to slip together, but with it being laser cut, these arms are totally coplanar to each of these surfaces. It's just a dream to assemble. This is one of my favorite parts. Look how funky this one looks. One tricky thing with this vise is a lot of these parts look very similar. In fact, some of them are only off a couple of thousandths, but they only fit one place. One thing I could do is have SendCutSend laser etch these with part numbers. It'll obviously just cost a lot more. Dude, this is the coolest puzzle I've ever put together. Yeah, look at that. That's a bummer. The outside diameter of these bearings are supposed to be larger than this lug. Good thing this is just a test assembly. Also, the hole on this side plate was supposed to be a tapped hole. I've made a couple mistakes on this that'll get revised for the second vise. I think I might have swapped these parts on accident. This is a little long. This plate is another mistake. I forgot to extrude the slots in the base to accept the tabs on the bottom of the static tube. I'm gonna have to locate this the old-fashioned way with like measurements and stuff. These tabs are such a luxury, they just all self-locate everything. Because this base plate was designed wrong, I'm going to lightly tack this together in a way I can cut the tacks later and take it apart in case I want to replace the base. It's not super smooth right now because I don't have bearings on the end of the pedal. So this is a counterweight. It keeps the dynamic jaw plumb at all times during its travel. If the counterweight wasn't on and all the weight was this way, once it contacts the static jaw, it rotates and would slide your part up through the jaws. I figured that'd be kind of annoying, so this counterweight eliminates that. When it's open, the jaws are at different heights, and that's because when the dynamic jaw pivots, it rises a little bit, and so I made the jaws to be perfectly level at their closed position. I'm really excited about the hardware on this vise. Let me show you. Everywhere that there's a pivot on this vise, there's a shoulder bolt. Instead of the bearing surface of a pivot, like the inside of this hole, being on threads, it's on the precision ground shank. It's probably not super necessary, but it's nice. And the way this works is this shoulder bottoms out before the head compresses onto the face of this part. And so that way the head isn't squeezing it and keeping it from rotating. I'm just double checking my order for the second foot vise. While I'm waiting for Mark II version 2 to be cut, let's see what these other two weigh. So the Mark I vise weighs 139 pounds. Let's see what the Mark II weighs. The Mark II vise weighs in at 136 pounds, which is very close to the Mark I. That's interesting because this vise is much smaller, but the material thickness is much higher. This video is also partially sponsored by Stronghand tools. They supplied this Rhino cart along with a ton of clamps and accessories. Having this table and clamps has been an absolute game changer for me. It has fundamentally changed the way I weld and the accuracy I can achieve. In fact, having all this new tooling has literally unlocked a part of my brain that I I can now use to solve problems in ways I wasn't able to before. So thank you very much to Stronghand Tools. These products have been absolutely excellent. Make sure to check them out. Now I've got to finish the second iteration of the Mark II Foot Vise and see how those revisions turned out. I've changed a couple things on this little sub-assembly. I got a legit 20,000 shim this time instead of a piece of sheet metal. I need to clamp these tabs parallel to each other, and the gap happens to be a perfect 3 inches. I wasn't really quite digging that last setup I had. I think I'm gonna weld this part separate and then bolt it onto the other. It just wasn't clamping up quite square. On these really thick 1/2 inch parts, there's a slight bit of taper to the cut. This is my first time not warping the base plate on a pedestal. It's all because of the tabs on the bottom. It's off to Montana, first stop Spokane. I had to stop at Jason from Fireball Tool Shop. He has an excellent YouTube channel. It's honestly one of my favorites. So he has a load cell that we're gonna put in the vise to test the clamping force. He has a video where he's tested all the big seller vices on the market and broke all of them. All right, so give me your prediction, Jason. What do you think the clamping force on this is?
Just from looking at it, we have an arm length of 12 inches, short arm of 6, a 2-to-1. Let's say I weigh 180 pounds. I'm gonna put 100 pounds of force into it because I need to stand on 2 legs. Roughly 200 pounds there. And then I have another 2-to-1 ratio approximately. So I'm gonna guess 4 to 550 pounds.
So when I designed this, the intention was to be able to hold things enough to grind or file, so I don't need super killer clamping pressure like your Mega Vise here.
Yeah. And that all varies about the human on the other end of it.
Very true. Okay, so practically that's about 350, 400 maybe if I'm really leaning on it. Math, that's cool.
That's cool. And that is, to put that in perspective, 400 clamping pounds is about the maximum clamp force you can use with a vice grips. So this is big giant vice grip. So that's pretty good. I can get it to 1,000 by standing on it.
I see what you're saying, Jason. So if we change the distance between the jaws, then where this pedal contacts the lever changes the amount of leverage on this arm.
Yeah, because it's gonna ride up or down.
The same load cell, just with a 1-inch shim in the jaw.
A little more.
It is more.
Yep.
We're getting around 650 to 700 pounds.
See, because you're lower on your arm.
Yes, very cool. That much
Almost
travel.
Doubles your clamping force.
Incredible. All right, I'm here at Alec's place in Montana. Let's see what he thinks of my foot vise. You squished your finger?
I got really close to squishing my finger.
I've done that so much.
You squished your finger in it?
Oh, totally.
Oh, well, it's because like you could easily make the mistake because you got your like weight on it. If you've done that a few times, I wonder if there's also an avenue for trying to improve like the proprioception. If you had the tiniest bit of resistance on the treadle, I wonder if it would give you enough to not accidentally push it down. If you had a slight spring there, so you had like 5 pounds of force to overcome, it might give you that proprioceptive awareness. I'm gonna get a bungee cord. It's even just like the slightest little bit, I wonder.
Yeah, I'm with you. If it's just enough force to where you could rest your foot on it.
Right, as opposed to like, I let go of my foot and it clamps. No, it feels perfectly fine in terms of its grip in the jaws.
And I'm back from Montana. I had the best time hanging out with my friends Jason, Will, and Alec. Super nice guys. If you want to see what Alec and I were up to, go check out his channel and see the 3 episodes he put out of us forging a chair. So fun. After meeting with Jason and Alec, I have a ton of ideas for improvements and different versions. For example, I'm not super sold on the counterweight, so I'm actually going to take a step back and get rid of the pivoting dynamic jaw. I found in practice that we were putting stuff in the upper third of the jaw, which totally defeats the purpose of the meeting parallel. I'm really excited about the potential potential for this being a product and a weld it yourself kit. If you want to keep an ear out for updates, you can sign up for the newsletter on my website. I'll have a link in the description. If you want to see more videos just like this one, I'll have a playlist right here. If you like this video, you're welcome to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.